Hi, strangers. I just wanted to share an experience and maybe engage in some YouTubeify dialogue, virtual dialogue, on a subject that's been causing me some distress lately and stemmed from an incident that honestly traumatized me a little bit. Um, so, what happened was that I was not a vegan, I was not a vegetarian. I tried to eat plant-based and local as often as I could. I made that a priority. But I was disconnected from the thought and visualization that I hurt animals when I eat them, because I love my pets and I love seeing cows. I just was disconnected from, grabbing animal products and byproducts from the shelf and what actually goes on to bring us those products. So what my breaking point was that I took a class on food systems, on global food systems, this past year at school. And I got really interested in bees, particularly in the area of urban agriculture. So I just got real into it. I wanted to learn as much as I can about bees in the shortest amount of time. What do I do? So I took a beekeeping course. Yeah, a little ambitious, but I loved it and I got really excited and I was like, yeah, let's get bees, blah, 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 blah. So when summer came along and I was looking for a job, I'm like, why don't I try to do beekeeping or help somebody out, even just part-time or as a hobby or whatever. So at a local seed exchange event, I met a lady selling, so many different kinds of honey, row upon row upon row of different kinds, coming from different flowers. And yeah, so she, long story short, ended up getting a job with them, which ended up being a full-time job. And I started during final exams, which was a bad idea, but that's not the point. The point is that I showed up excited to make a difference, bring more pollinators into this world, work with the bees, watch the bees, learn from the bees. And my first few moments, it was exciting for the first few moments, and then I'll never forget, but within the first hour or two, we were checking the hives, and one of the queen bees was laying the wrong kind of larvae. She was laying drones instead of worker bees. So drones don't produce honey. Their main purpose is to mate. Their only purpose, as far as I'm aware. And because the queen was only laying, or at least mostly laying, those kind of eggs instead of the worker bees, which are all female, by the way, and are the ones that actually make the honey, produce the honey, we had to get rid of her. And it all happened so fast, but essentially, I'm so glad I wasn't asked to do this. I think I kind of was, but the owner's wife, who was there, did it just instead, because I think she knew that it was a little much for somebody new to be a part of. But so basically she squished the queen bee in between her fingers, just killed her because she was laying the wrong kind of eggs. I was mortified. These people have hearts, they care about their bees, but I just, at that moment, I couldn't comprehend, how this works. How somebody can be okay with doing something like that, but then still say they care about their bees. And the reason that, she squished the queen bee in between her goddamn fingers. Sorry for the graphics, but the reason that she did that is you can't like stomp on the ground or anything like that, because apparently it leaves a scent on the ground and then makes all the other bees angry, and you're more likely to get stung, and it just, you don't want that pheromone out there, I think is the word. So yeah, that's what she did. And you know, I went home not feeling good about myself after that day, but at the same time I was like, you know, think bigger picture. I'm getting more bees out there. The planet needs them for the greater good. You know, the whole, do you save one person or do you save people? Do you save one person or save 3 people type thing from getting hit by a train, if you're familiar with that analogy. But yeah, so I showed up for a second day, and that was just cleaning out the old hives because from the winter. So whichever hives did not make it, I had to clean them out, which was really sad to see all the dead bees there as well. But like, that was just natural causes as far as I'm aware. I mean, who knows? Bees produce more honey than they need. And that's why we feel comfortable and okay and can say, well, some of us feel comfortable and are comfortable saying that we just take what's excess. But at the same time, bees I can't help but feel in my heart of hearts that bees make an excess so that they feel secure, like, you know, like, oh, you know, got my bases covered kind of a thing. So like, they've got to work harder if they know that they don't have enough honey. And throughout the winter, you know, you give them, like, if you cultivate your honey, and then most commercial beekeepers will give them like a sugar mix to eat to make sure they have enough food to last them through the winter. But some of these bees died of starvation, and you can just tell, like, even somebody who wasn't as experienced as me, like, you saw them all clenched. I can't get into it, but anyways, diseases, starvation, just so many dead bees, and that was depressing as well. But you know, I felt like just gotta get it done. So then I come back to work and I deal with live bees, and we're checking on the hives to make sure that a queen is in each hive, and that the hive's doing okay, you know, like just checking up on your bees to make sure everything's going smoothly. And to my horror, a hive is very busy. There's a lot of bees. Like, every space is like filled up, especially in the more populated frames. Like, there's bees everywhere. And what that means is, even though there's space in between the frames in the hive for bees to, you know, crawl around in comfortably and get through to the next frame accordingly, when you're invading their space and lifting those frames, like, out of the hive to check to see if there's the queen there, or because it's important, if you don't know where your queen is, like, basically you're running a whole bunch of risks. But every time you do that, like, there's a high risk of bee casualties. And what I mean is that, you know, as intelligent as they are, bees get stuck, bees move last minute, and you're sliding, and next thing you know, you hear a awful crunching noise, and you freeze because you just accidentally killed a bee. And it doesn't matter how slowly you're going or how slowly you're putting it back down. It might not happen most of the time, but it's going to happen. And I'll never forget that noise, but it was just awful. And after that, like, the next day, I asked if I could just go back to cleaning the dead beehives from the winter, because I needed time to process my thoughts, because I just felt very uncomfortable and very unsettled with the situation. And, you know, you're going away at cleaning the hive and scraping out gunk from the insides, and next thing you know, there's some live bees there, but you can't tell because most of the bees are dead, and there's just some live bees that had swooped in, and you, like, accidentally sever one of their legs or something. And then, oh my god, it was just so awful, because, like, that happened to me, and then I couldn't Like I couldn't, it was like I had to put him out of his misery, or, you know, let him kind of like just suffer. And it was just so traumatizing that at that point, like I said, I can't do this not 1 second longer. And I think it's also important to mention, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but this was a commercial beekeeper who is cultivating honey and supplying pollinators to farms and orchards for profit. This was his livelihood. It was not a comfortable livelihood. Like they worked hard, they worked every day, like for days and days and months on end, kind of a thing. And they're old, and, you know, my heart goes out to them. But I've been thinking about it, and I just feel like when it comes to dealing with living creatures on a larger scale, because you're interested in making a profit, even if your intentions are good, like I can't help but feel like it on some level is at the animal's expense. And that really traumatized me because, you know, everyone prefers honey these days to sugar or whatever, except for the vegans. And it just left me a lot to think about. Like, how can you trust, even if, you know, your eggs say free range, or, you know, you get your meat from your neighbor or whatever, like, you don't know what's going on, and you can't possibly know what's going on. You can't possibly know what expense was made on the part of the living creatures to get that animal product or animal byproduct. It's more black and white with the animal products, obviously, but or the animal byproduct, like you don't know. And like you might find one source that you're really comfortable with, but that's like, if you live in a city, that's exhausting, and I just can't do it anymore. And that was my breaking point to becoming a vegan. And I was wondering if anybody had any similar experiences, or if they could shed some light on commercial beekeeping that I just missed because I was so traumatized. I just really wanted to open up this for discussion, because I know there's a lot of like controversy on vegans and like whether or not to eat honey or keep bees for like a hobby or whatever. So I shouldn't have done that. For a hobby. Some vegans keep bees for a hobby, a learning hobby. And people are more, I would say generally more inclined to accept beekeeping as a form of agriculture, like with dealing with living creatures, because of the situation of, you know, we need pollinators and they're dying out, and colony collapse disorder, and, you know, we're losing our biodiversity through monoculture farming, etc., etc. But and so many people are comfortable with beekeeping. Like, you see it, you see videos, you see happy stories, you see people like promoting this as a thing, and I'd love to hear some more opinions. Please give me your thoughts. Thanks for listening.